Welcome to Yoga for Low Back Care. Matias and I decided to put this video together for anyone that is suffering from any chronic low back discomfort or pain. As someone that's been dealing with low back pain for years, Matias is the perfect demo to show some of these basic movements that anyone can do from home at any time to help stretch out, strengthen, and stabilize the space of the lower spine and the core. I wanted to take a moment and start off this video by showing the most basic thing that you should not do if you're suffering from low back pain, and that is any deep forward folds with straight legs. So as you can see here, I'm going to ask Matias to take a forward fold with straight legs. Don't worry, his back's not hurting right now. And so this is a no-no. This is the space where it's putting a little bit too much pressure on the lower spine. So you see if he bends his knees really deeply and starts to rest his abdomen on his thighs, lengthen out the spine a little bit more to get some stretch for all four sides of the spine. And then once he's found that and the low back feels okay, nice and steady, then he can start to relax down through his head, neck, and shoulders. But giving the spine that extra support with the bend in the knees so we don't have all the supporting muscles around the lower back giving too much pull. And then when he's ready to come up, really ground into the feet. Keep the low back nice and long. Come up with the strength of the legs until you're all the way back to standing. Good job, babe. And now that we've got that groundwork covered, we'll go ahead and move into our sequence. So Matias is starting in child's pose, letting his hips drop back toward his heels, letting his abdomen rest down onto his thighs, forearms, and elbows, just nice and soft onto the mat. And the space is designed to give a little stretch for the lower back with that nice deep bend into the knees. Just really gently elongating the spine, starting to just create that sense of awareness. Finding a nice full deep breath in through the nose and letting it all the way out. Taking a moment to soften, to ground, and to land here now. Just tuning in to how the body is feeling. And settling through the mind. And then when you're ready, you'll start to roll up onto all fours. Take your time. Let the hands steady underneath your shoulders, knees underneath your hips. And then from here, we'll take a few movements through our cat and our cow. So on an inhale, you can start to lift through the tailbone, drop through the belly, pull the chest and heart forward. You can look up. And then as you exhale, engage through the core. Bring the tailbone down, arch the spine to the sky. Let your head hang nice and heavy. As you move here, keep the core pretty active. So inhale, the chest and heart opens. Exhale, chin to chest, round the spine to the sky. We'll take that one more time. As you inhale, tailbone lifts, abdomen drops slightly, heart opens. And then exhale, wave-like motion for the spine, rounding it up toward the ceiling. And then we'll come back into a nice neutral spine, leveling off. And then from here, slowly coming down onto your elbows and your forearms. And listening to your own lower spine here, this might be enough just to get a little bit of a deeper stretch. Keep your hips right above your knees and start to drop the chest down between the arms. Getting a little bit more extension for the lower back. You can stay here. Or if your body and your shoulders allow, you can start to walk the hands forward. Drop the chest a little bit lower, maybe the forehead rests down onto the mat. And again, the idea is to create some space, some natural traction from the sacrum through the lumbar spine, releasing and opening across the chest, relaxing the shoulders. This is our Anahatasana, taking a few nice deep breaths here. One more breath. And when you're ready to rise up, we'll actually slither the body forward. Try and keep the hips and heart nice and low. Let the thighs, hips, belly, chest rest all the way down to the ground. And then align the elbows underneath the shoulders, palms pressing into the floor. Ground into the tops of the feet. Engage the muscles of your legs and the glutes. Lift up through the heart, finding your sphinx. So finding that engagement in the legs will really help to support and lengthen the space of the low back. So press into all 10 toes, feel the kneecaps lift, engage the quads, feel the glutes active. The tailbone comes down and we actually create some healthy compression in the low back as we lengthen and open in that extension of the spine. And then once you're here, always pausing for a breath just to feel. Not rushing through the movements, rather letting the body readjust, connecting the brain to the movements in the body. From here, take that left hand, bring it in toward the right elbow. Rest onto that left arm as you roll to the outer edge of the left hip. We'll take a little side bend here, opening up through the side waist. If you like to come farther, use the support of that right hand as you come up onto the left palm. Press the hips toward that open space on the mat to get a little bit more alignment from your toes, your knees, your hips, all the way up into your head. So taking it to your own edge. Matias has some flexibility here. So if you're down on your elbow, let yourself rest there and find some space. Top of that left hip all the way through the side waist and rib cage. Nice deep breath. And then from here, when you're ready to release, engaging the space of the core so low back is nice and stable. Start to come back onto your abdomen. And then we'll switch it to the other side. So the right fingers toward the left elbow, roll to the outer edge of that right leg. Again, you can stay, take it in stages, maybe coming up onto that right hand. Hips pressing forward, aligning heels, knees, hips, and head. Again, you can use that left hand to support you. And really focusing on that stretch, that side bend of the spine, coming up out of that bottom right hand, out of the bottom right hip. And always back to the breath. Breathing into any space of sensation, creating openness from the inside out. And then when you're ready to release, again, engage the core, come down nice and slowly back onto your abdomen. Once you're there, slide the hands underneath your shoulders, tuck the toes under, and then as strongly as you can, press yourself up into a plank, that high push-up. So legs are active, you're pressing up between the shoulder blades. There you go. Abdomen pulls up and in, finding again that natural and stable space for the lower spine. If this is too much for your arms, this is too much for the lower back, the abdomen doesn't have enough strength to support you, then give yourself permission to come into a knee down plank. So you can let the knees come down to the ground. Make sure you shift the weight forward just a little bit so you have the alignment from your knees, your hips, into your head. Core stays engaged, still pressing between the shoulder blades. Nice. Here's option 1. Option 2, if you do have the strength to support it, is to come into that full plank, that high push-up. Take a moment here, always working that stabilizing space. And then we'll come from here into our downward facing dog. Now watch, from here with legs really straight, there's a little curve, a little arch in the lower spine. So if I ask him to bend his knees, sink the heart and lift the hips, is that wonderful elongation from the tips of the fingers all the way up through the tailbone. And that's what we're going for in our downward facing dog, our Adho Mukha Svanasana. Really creating space between each of the vertebrae. Again, natural traction with gravity. Lifting, lengthening, creating space where there may be some unhealthy compression. And always taking a few breaths, just feeling that push away from the palms. Lifting the tail, little bend into the knees. The balls of the feet nice and rooted. Good. And then when you're ready, come down onto the knees. Bring yourself back up into your tabletop. So you might need to realign a little bit here. The hands come underneath the shoulders. The knees align underneath your hips. Good. And once you're there, we'll go ahead and take that right leg, extend it straight back behind you. Strengthen the leg, strengthen the core. Deep breath in. As you exhale, we'll step that right foot all the way up between the hands. Help it if you need to. So if you arrive in this knee down lunge, you start to come onto your fingertips. If that right knee is pressing past the right ankle, more toward the toes, then walk that right foot forward a few inches on the mat to have a nice, steady, and safe alignment for that right knee. And as you sink down through the hips, look forward. You can stay right here. Now you can take the hands to the top of that right thigh. Give yourself a little press. Tailbone down, belly in. Good. Down through the shoulder blades, up through the heart. Smile on the face. Deep, full breath. And even in this lunge, if you're feeling a bit wobbly, we can ground down through the ball mount of that right foot, stabilizing the inner thighs, creating even more stability for the midsection of the body. Opening up that left hip flexor. Breathing deeply. Spending some time here to create some lasting change. And when you're ready, we'll take the hands down onto the mat. And with as much control as you can, right knee comes back to meet the left. Press the hips back toward the heels. We'll take a moment to rest in child's pose. Just noticing the difference between the two sides. You might feel a little bit more blood flow, a little more energy into the front of that left hip. And just noticing the space that you've created through that mindful stretch. And give yourself just a couple of breaths to ground, to recenter. And when you're ready, we'll take it on the other side. So coming back up onto all fours. When you're ready, left leg extends back. Engage here, belly in, inhale. Good. And then as you exhale, we'll take that left foot and step it up between the hands. Same thing I mentioned on the other side. You'll want to check the alignment of that left knee. It's over the ankle, not more toward the toes. So wiggle that left foot forward, sink the hips down, tent the fingers, lift the heart. You can stay here. Top of that back foot comes down. Grounding, steady, maybe taking the hands to meet the top of that left thigh. Giving yourself that little press up. Remember, tailbone down, abdomen comes in. And the more we bring the tailbone down, the more stretch you'll find in the front of that right hip. And that's what we're going here. Starting to release some of the psoas muscles, which do attach to the low back, which can be one of the biggest indicators or problems for the body. Spending a few moments again to create that lasting change. Opening up the fascia, connective tissue, and letting that stretch settle even deeper into the big muscle groups of the body. Remember to soften the shoulders, stay with your breath, and use your exhale to bring the hands back down onto the mat. Once they're down, we'll slide that left knee again back to meet the right. And releasing the hips back toward the heels. Another time in our child's pose here. Beautiful stretch for the lower spine. Balancing out right and left. And a little variation if you'd like. Take the palms together. Keep the elbows down. Thumbs come to the back of the neck. Getting a nice stretch into those triceps. And every time you come into your balasana, your child's pose, feel the hips settling back toward the heels. Creating that space for the whole spine. When you're ready, release the hands forward. We'll slide the hands underneath the shoulders. Give yourself a little press up. And either crossing at the ankles, so sit back onto your heels, or if it's an easier transition in the body, you can slide the feet to one side and extend the legs straight out in front of you. Option here to give a little more release for the low back is to slide a bolster underneath the knees. Just helps you keep that natural bend, softening the hamstrings. The hands come to the front of the bolster, lift the heart, tip the pelvis forward, find that little range of motion there first. And then from there with a long spine, we start to come forward and down. Let the hands rest where they need to, elbows soften. Notice how his lower back kept that little tilt forward. It's pretty long here. And the fold isn't coming from the lower spine. His fold here is releasing the middle and upper back, softening the chin toward the chest. And using the support of the bolster underneath the knees to very safely, very gently stretch through the hamstrings, through the glutes, and the muscles that connect to the top of the pelvis and into the lower back. And always a few deep breaths, holding the shape of the body. And then using an inhale to bring the torso back up. You can remove that bolster and go ahead and slide a pillow underneath your sits bones. He's going to turn to face you just so that you can see what's going on. Once you're steady on that pillow, it's just going to help the sits bones lift, the spine to lengthen. Take the soles of the feet together. Let the knees open out to the sides. Hands can hold on to the feet. And then working a nice tall spine here. So rather than hinging or folding, use that little pull on the feet to lift and open across the chest. Let the shoulders always slip down and away from the ears. Lengthening the spine. Release for the inner thighs, the adductors of the legs. And again, working that tall posture, stabilizing and supporting that neutral space for the spine. It's natural alignment. And another full deep breath. And then when you're ready, you can use the hands to support the outsides of the legs. Draw the knees back up. And then you can slide the pillow out from underneath your sits bones. Walk the toes up toward the top of the mat. Engaging the core, you can use the support of your elbows to really slowly lower the spine down onto the earth. Making sure that you come down in a way where you have enough room where your head is up toward the top of the mat. The shoulders can relax away from the ears. Good. And then once you're steady there, you can go ahead and extend out through your right leg and hug your left knee all the way in towards your chest, wrapping the hands in the front of the shin. Give a little squeeze. Maybe rock a little bit from side to side. Now, as you're here, if you're feeling any pull in the low back, just know that you can bend into the right knee, that's the extended leg, and set the right foot on the floor for a little bit more modification. So from here, we'll keep that left knee hugging in. Right hand stays on that right knee, left arm out to the side. And then give yourself a gentle twist, drawing the left knee over toward the right side of the space. You might let that left ear fall toward the floor, gently bringing the twist into the lower back. This is one of Matias's favorite movements to take multiple times through the day. So make sure it feels good in your own body. And that left hip gently coming away from the rib cage. That left shoulder drifting down toward the floor. And letting gravity support and assist you as you have that gentle wringing out. If you have any serious diagnosis in the low back, deep twists are not highly recommended. So let your twist be really gentle. Let the low back be stable and allow the twist to come from the middle and upper back. When you're ready, we'll draw that left knee back in toward your chest. Give a little squeeze there at center. And then when you're ready, we'll take it to the other side. Extend that left leg out nice and slowly. And start to hug the right knee in toward your chest. Give a little squeeze. As I mentioned, other side. If there's too much pull in the low back here, just bend that left knee, set the foot on the ground to give the low back some support. And as you move that right leg around a bit, we'll take the twist to the other side. So left hand holding on to right shin, right arm out to the side. And then use your exhale to draw that right knee over toward the left side of the mat. You can twist into the head and neck, right ear toward the floor. As I mentioned, this feels amazing for some. If the twist feels too deep for your own body, remember, always back it off into your own edge. Listen to your own experience. Good. Feeling that right hip drawing away, right shoulder drifting down. Always full, deep breaths into and out of the nose. The diaphragm, the lungs. Nice. And then when you're ready to come up, again, it's really slow. The right knee hugs in. Give a little squeeze. And then draw the left knee in to meet the right, full rounding through the spine. If it feels good, little rock from side to side, massaging the sacrum, the lower back. And then we'll set the soles of the feet down on the ground. Feet are hips width distance apart. Hands can reach toward the heels. Palms up helps to open the chest, so you can keep them like that. Scoop out the lower belly, lift the hips, and go ahead and come up into your bridge, your Setu Bandhasana. Now imagine that you have like a basketball between the knees. You're not trying to pop it, but you're holding it in space, engaging the muscles of the legs to give the low back a little more length. Now I'm stepping on his toes just to ground down into the feet and keep that energy into the legs. And with that energy, we lift the chest higher toward the chin and the chin a little bit higher toward the sky. Come up onto the balls of the feet, lift the heels, and then imagine you could count all 24 vertebrae as they release one at a time, all the way back down onto the floor. Nice. And then from here, we'll cross that right ankle over the left knee or thigh. Right toes draw in, protect the knee. Right knee comes away. We find this duality of movements. As that right knee drifts away from you, lift the left foot off the ground and hug the left leg in toward you. Notice here how Matias is using his right elbow into the inside of that right thigh to keep the right leg pressing away, as he uses the palms, the strength of that left arm, to draw the left leg in a little bit closer. Make sure the head and neck are nice and relaxed. Breath is nice and full. And the whole central channel of the body here, hips, core, all connected. So if we can create that space in the hips, nice, that helps to release some of that pull that we experience in the lower back, whether it's from sitting in a car, sitting in a desk at work, at a computer. And just taking some time to counteract daily life. When you're ready, we'll set that left foot back down onto the ground, release the right foot as well, and then we'll switch it to the other side. So just those few little pointers to remember. As you hug the right leg in toward you, keep that left leg pressing out and away from you. Shoulders stay relaxed. Head nice and heavy. We'll draw those left toes in just a little bit more. Keep the knee safe. Good. Left knee away. Right arm draws you in a little bit closer. Okay. So whether the discomfort in your low back comes from sedentary shapes that we take through the day or action through sports, through running, regardless, it's really important for us to regain some mobility, that fresh flow of circulation through the big joints of the body, and allowing that blood flow then to get into some of those deeper spaces as we hold. And just creating that openness, the body's own ability to heal itself. And set the right foot down. The left foot comes down to meet it. Arms down alongside you. We'll take another bridge. Draw those heels in close to the bum. Press through the feet, strengthen the legs. Scoop out the lower belly. Lift the hips from the ground when you're ready. So we create that line from the space of the chest through the hips to the knees. If you'd like to take it a little bit farther, you can kind of wrangle the upper arms underneath you. Interlace the fingers, press down through the pinky sides of the hands. As the chest lifts up toward the chin, keep the chin lifting slightly toward the sky so you get that natural curve through the back of the neck. And again, just that reminder that you're holding space between the legs, so give them just a gentle squeeze. Engaging the inner thighs to lengthen out the lumbar spine, the lower back. And then when you're ready, again, you can lift up onto the balls of the feet, release the clasp of the hands, and lower down one vertebra at a time, creating that space as you lower, no rush. Once the hips land, widen the feet out to the outer edges of the mat. Let the knees knock in together, and again, that's just going to give a nice little release. Let the low back stabilize. And just giving a little hug to his knees to get a little stretch into those hip flexors as well. And so feeling your body start to land, start to ground. We'll get ready for our final shape together here. And that'll be our Shavasana pose for relaxation. So again, if you want to take that handy bolster or a pillow or a rolled blanket underneath the knees, the backs of the thighs, it's just going to take some of that pressure off the low back. Let the muscles of the legs relax. Let the palms open toward the sky. Shimmy those shoulders away from the ears. And let your head get nice and heavy. And feeling your whole body start to release and soften down into the support of the earth. Take a moment to reflect on the good work that you've done. Just taking a few basic movements and some time to slow down, to connect to breath. Stretching out the muscles around the lower back. And also strengthening the muscles needed to support the lower spine. Okay, let yourself rest here. Just for now, let it all go. And stay in Shavasana for as long as you'd like. There's no rush to get up. But when you do decide that you're ready, start to find your breath again into your body. And we'll create small movement wiggling through your fingers, your toes. You can circle out through your wrists and your ankles. It might even feel lovely to take a full body stretch, reaching the arms all the way up and overhead. You can kick out through the legs, really stretch it out. You can even open your mouth, stretch the jaw. And then really important when that low back has a little bit of instability is to make this rise up to seated really slow. So bend into the knees. And then go ahead and roll over onto one side, probably your right. And then make a pillow for your head and the crook of your arms. And just pause there for a moment. So again, really slow, really stable through the space of the lower spine. Use that left hand pressing into the earth to give you that support and strength to rise back up. And take a moment to come into a nice comfortable seat. Maybe legs cross, sits bones ground. Feel that lift through the spine. Shoulders soften. Connect to your breathing. Take a moment in gratitude. Take a moment to nurture that deeper sense of connection that you found within your own body, your own breath. And knowing that the light in us deeply respects the light in each of you. Namaste.